appointment. Joining me now is Democratic Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island. Senator, before I get to the Supreme Court goings-on today, I just want to get your comment on this special counsel report that I'm holding in my hot little hands here about the Biden classified documents situation, their non-prosecution decision. Your thoughts?
Well, the Department of Justice did what it should do, which is to appoint a special prosecutor, a special counsel to look into the matter. Special counsel is independent, looked into the matter, decided there was nothing to prosecute. As far as I'm concerned, that settles the question.
Well, we will hear what the president has to say about it a little bit later on in the hour. But I do want to get to this hearing today. It was fascinating to listen to. And just to my ear, just listening to it as these oral arguments were made, it was striking to me to hear the first voice in each of the segments and sessions being Justice Clarence Thomas. He is the senior most judge, which is, for our audience, why he was allowed to speak first each time. So he gets that deference. But I think we all remember that his wife, Ginny Thomas, was materially involved in the insurrection. She sent multiple emails to Mark Meadows. She was a huge advocate of Donald Trump remaining in power after losing the election. I could go on and on and on. These guys did sign this brand new ethics, their sort of new ethics guidelines. What do you make of the fact that he did not recuse?
Well, let's start with the fact that the failure to recuse isn't just an ethics violation, it's a violation of law. Congress passed a law requiring recusal in certain circumstances. So this isn't just something within the judicial branch that's just a matter of, judicial propriety. It's law breaking to sit on a case where you don't belong. And with respect to Thomas, this is the third time he has sat on and decided a case related to the insurrection. Sat on the case of the January 6th Commission's access to records, which might well have revealed the records of his wife's contacts with the Trump chief of staff. He sat on the Arizona election investigation case after his wife was involved with calling into Arizona to ask to have ballots overturned. And now he's involved in this case. And the problem across all three of those cases is we don't know what the facts are. In any other proceeding, you'd have to do some sort of fact finding. You'd know what his wife did, what he knew, when he knew it, and all of that is simply not present. This Supreme Court hides behind a cloud of obscurity with respect to the facts. And that allows a judge like Thomas to make his own decision without anybody being able to check on him and say, well, actually, on those facts, that's not right. You start with fact-finding in any legal matter, and the court refuses to allow fact-finding.
Right. I mean, it just was sort of striking to see, you call them a Leo 6 if you want, Leonard Leo's pals there. I mean, you have Samuel Alito arguing across the room from the guy who wrote the bounty hunter bill in Texas, his co-conspirator in trying to deprive women of rights over their own bodies. You've got and he's also another expensive vacation fan. You've got three people who worked for George W. Bush in the Bush v. Gore case, including Chief Justice Roberts, Amy Coney Barrett and Kavanaugh being the other two, arguing that one state shouldn't get to decide who the president is. Hello, that was the case y'all worked on in Bush v. Gore.
They let Florida decide. They decided it for Florida,
Correct.
One state.
Correct. And so I wonder if we're at a point now where the Supreme Court's reputation is so desiccated that a ruling to keep Trump on the ballot, which seems to me to be their sort of political decision that they want to make, will just feel kind of grimy to a lot of Americans.
I think it will, and it's not just the Supreme Court as an institution, it's also the principles that they purport to champion. If you listen to the argument, the questions were all about, well, what happens if, and what are the political outcomes? What are the results? What are the policy outcomes? How do we balance the interests here? Those are all considerations that they pretend to scorn. They pretend to be plain language folks, strict constructionists, originalists, until plain language, strict construction, and originalism would lead them to throw Trump off the ballot in Colorado. And then suddenly all the documents that they've long purported to scorn are the ones that are driving their questioning.
And I think the other piece of it is this idea of attempting to force Congress to say that Section 3, number one, didn't apply to a president, meaning didn't apply to like somebody, if Jefferson Davis decided he wanted to be president of the United States, right? It didn't apply to a president. It didn't apply to Trump because he wasn't an elected official before. So the oath he took kind of didn't count. It was like a whoopsie kind of an oath. All of the arguments to me felt so tortured. But the one that was the most sort of eye-popping is that this Congress, this House of Representatives, specifically Mike Johnson's House of Representatives, that they ought to decide whether he's eligible if he actually wins. So we would go to another January 6th, but this time it would be Mike Johnson's House deciding if Donald Trump could be president. Your thoughts?
Well, there is a bit of a gap in the Article 3 of the 14th Amendment about who actually gets to decide. But into that gap, we fill the fact that elections are decided by states. That's why we have state election officials. That's why we have different state laws covering elections. We have different candidate requirements covering elections. And it's a state official that says, let's say you try to run for a third term as president. The Constitution says you can't. The state official says you can't do that. You don't wait for Congress to say you can't do that. The ballot in the state is the function of the state to determine. So, back to my point about how plain language, strict construction, and originalism all got thrown into the can in this argument.
Yeah.
How about states' rights? They lived by states' rights as a doctrine for so long, and now, no. Congress has to decide, even though every element of the ballot is really settled on by the states and state election officials.
Yeah, one wonders what might happen if, let's say, Arnold Schwarzenegger decide, okay, you know what, YOLO, let me go ahead and try to run and see if California can keep me off the ballot. Anyway, I'm going to leave it there. Senator Sheldon Whitehouse, always a pleasure.
Good being with you.
Thank you very much. All right, joining me now.